Hello and welcome, my name is Jay, and in this video I'm going to be asking whether or not Shadowlands is World of Warcraft's last chance. Now I suspect this question gets asked like every single expansion, inevitably obviously World of Warcraft is still around, and I do think even in the worst scenario here that Shadowlands doesn't capture the people I'm talking about, that World of Warcraft retail will continue. And I think when people ask that question though, they're normally talking about players who already play retail, who basically are always tempted to quit, maybe they're on the borderline, or they're talking about players who maybe like dabble in each expansion. Maybe they think that, well, if this expansion sucks, they'll never play another expansion. But I'm not really talking about those people. In fact, I'm talking about players probably more like myself, which is why I'm actually confident to talk about it in this sense. I haven't really played since Wrath of the Lich King. That was the last time I was in a raid in retail, and I think I may have bought Cataclysm and then just never done anything with it. But yeah, really, Wrath of the Lich King is when we saw the decline in World of Warcraft subscription numbers, and I suspect there's a lot of players like myself that like fit into this category. But I do think Shadowlands could be the expansion that gets players like myself back into it. Now, I am aware that Shadowlands has a little bit of a PR problem at the minute with actual players. There's the Twitter hashtag pull the ripcord talking about all the systems covenants and all that kind of stuff. I don't really understand that, and I don't understand the game enough to really know if that will be a problem, so I'm just going to temporarily ignore it, and we're going to talk about how there could be an influx of new players or returning players that the developers Blizzard really need to try and hold on to. Whether it, if the systems end up being broken, that doesn't happen, that would be a problem. But these two players, and the reason I think this could be the pivotal moment, as follows. So the first reason is Classic WoW. I think it's pretty much understood that Classic WoW boosted WoW's subscription numbers a significant amount. Now, we don't have the raw data in that sense. All we know is that Blizzard announced, well, Activision, they said, we were making record profits ever since Classic. Now, we don't know how much of an effect is Classic WoW versus the fact that people have been at home with COVID-19 and probably playing lots of MMO games, and spending money on retail. That would be one way that they'd be making extra money. It's hard to really say, but I think I think most people would agree WoW Classic has been pretty damn popular. It's been very well received, and I wouldn't be surprised if people who weren't playing WoW retail started playing Classic WoW. I know that because that was me. And then following from that, people like myself who played Classic WoW, I've enjoyed Classic WoW, but I've actually taken a step back from it now. I've thought, what the heck, I'll try the next World of Warcraft expansion. I'll give it one last shot, and that's the whole point of this video. So I'm going to be playing Shadowlands and giving it one last go because I played Classic WoW. I suspect that this is the expansion where if anybody is doing that, this will be the peak expansion where that happens. Now, it might be that actually we get to like a Wrath of the Lich King Classic, and maybe that's the peak. But for me, they got the hype from Classic WoW, and they now want to pay that off by getting those people into retail WoW, and then milking them, getting people to buy mounts and stuff like that. So Classic WoW players could be giving Shadowlands a go, and if retail fails them, then they might not be back. And the next one I think is slightly related to Classic, but not like directly, and that is that they are changing the game in some significant ways to try and resolve some issues that players had. Now, they're not going to be changing literally everything. I don't think they're going to be getting rid of like looking for raid, or they're not going to be getting rid of like teleporting to dungeons and all that kind of stuff. And this was all announced at BlizzCon, and I think there was an initial hype surrounding this that they were bringing back things like paladin auras, poisons for rogues, all that kind of stuff. And all combined, it sort of felt like, even though they're not all classic abilities, it felt like they were trying to bring back a sort of more classic-esque feeling to the game to make things actually more impactful in certain ways, like your character choice. Now, for me, I don't think Shadowlands is necessarily going to be like classic enough to bring back all the classic Andys into retail and to keep that bulk of that audience. I just sort of can't see it happening. I think there'll be a boost. This will probably be one of the more popular expansions in recent times, but I want to try and remain a little bit open-minded about it. It's why I'm going to give it a go. I'm going to stream it and all that kind of stuff. But I don't see Shadowlands really sort of fixing some of the fundamental issues that classic players will probably have, or the game generally has, like a lack of meaningful like social interactions with peoples and that kind of stuff. So I don't really think Shadowlands is necessarily going to fix it, but it is probably going to have a influx of people like myself who are going to be giving it a go. And it will be interesting to see if World of Warcraft can sort of like capitalize on that, or whether or not the numbers will basically return to a declining graph, which is personally what I think is going to happen. Although I think maybe like Wrath of the Lich King Classic could be like TBC Classic, Wrath Classic, and then at that point I'm not sure what's going to happen. Now, unless World of Warcraft is planning somehow to go into a World of Warcraft 2, which I sort of deem very unlikely, but I think if you imagine if you went into Shadowlands, into World of Warcraft 2, and it sort of had like some classic elements to it, then I do feel like World of Warcraft could be like back in the mainstream, so people like my mum know about it and that kind of stuff. Like people who don't play MMOs need to know about it to get back to where it was from like a decade ago, what have you. I can't really see this happening. I can't see World of Warcraft 2. I can't really see Shadowlands holding all of these players, and you know, who knows what's going to happen. It just feels like this is maybe the last roll of the dice to get the disenfranchised players like myself who played Classic in sort of happy to return now, but this is like its last chance. If this is bad, I'm never coming back unless they do something significant, and I sort of can't see them doing that. We will, you know, I reserve the right to hold off, because maybe like there's maybe Wrath of the Lich King Classic is going to be so popular that it's actually the next expansion that really kicks off and really is World of Warcraft's last chance. But I just feel like now, with all these Classic people coming into the game, they're all doing their weekly raids or what have you, they may be tempted by Shadowlands, especially now like it's coming to phase 6 in Classic. A lot of players will have stopped playing Classic. They now will be like, maybe I'll give Shadowlands a go. It's a bit expensive to jump in, considering Classic is just a subscription. Shadowlands is like 70 quid or whatever if you want to jump in from not having that many expansions. So it could truly be the end of World of Warcraft's chance to get back up on that subscription chart. It's really what I'm saying. The decline will possibly just continue at worst, and the game will continue because they're making a shed ton of money from it. But I just feel like it's the last chance to alter that graph where it was like, oh, we got loads of subscriptions and then we're declining after Wrath, and we're declining. They've had bumps every now and then, probably from Classic mainly recently in recent times, but we'll wait and see if that can be changed. To conclude then, my random ramblings, I just feel like this expansion is the expansion that is going to have to capture the Classic people who came in from Classic, the people who've been tempted by that tease of having like Classic abilities back in retail. I feel like if ever there was an expansion that had hype from people who don't play World of Warcraft, that this is that expansion. And it could be the last chance to reverse that graph. We've all seen that graph, that chart, where it's like the subscription numbers go up to Wrath, and then after Wrath they steadily decline, and they blip every expansion. I feel like right now, this expansion is really World of Warcraft's last chance to alter that graph and to maybe steadily increase again. Now, will that happen? I personally think no. I think this might be the point where we officially say World of Warcraft will jump the shark in that sense. I don't feel like it's going to come back. As I said, there are things they could do. Wrath of the Lich King Classic could be impressive. We could, if they did like a World of Warcraft 2, that could be the thing. But yeah, I personally don't see it, but I'm going to try and be open-minded. I'm going to play it. I've bought it. I've got the pre-patch ready, pre-installed or whatever it is. And yeah, I'll be playing. I'll be leveling. We'll see how it goes. Have a most beautiful day. Like and subscribe. Goodbye.